Chapter 7, Mishnah 2. The Mishnah discusses a case where a sheretz was found in a certain place, and we do not know for how long it was there before it was discovered. This raises the concern that Torah items that passed by may have become Tameh from the sheretz. If a dead sheretz was found in an alley, it makes items that passed through the alley before the sheretz was found retroactively Tameh. Back to the time a person can say, I checked the alley and there was no sheretz in it. Or back to the time the alley was last swept. Anything that passes through the alley after it was checked or after it was swept, whichever one was later, is Tameh. This is because the dead sheretz might have come into the alley right after it was last checked or swept, and it might have been touched by the tahor items that passed through afterward. However, items that passed through the alley before it was checked or swept are tahor. We're not concerned that the sheretz was in the alley at that time, because it would surely have been found when the alley was later checked or swept. If a woman finds a blood stain on her clothing, and it is possible that the blood came from her womb, the rabbis declared that she is Tameh. The Mishnah will now discuss whether such a woman transmits Tumah retroactively, that is, whether items she touched before she discovered the blood stain become Tameh. Similarly, if a blood stain was found on a woman's garment, she makes items that she touched before the blood stain was found retroactively Tameh. Back to the time a person can say, I checked the garment and it did not have a blood stain. Or back to the time the garment was last washed. Any item that she touched after the garment was checked or washed, whichever one was later, is Tameh, because the blood stain might have been there at that time. However, the items she touched before the garment was checked or washed are tahor, because the blood stain could not have been there at that time. The Mishnah teaches a law that applies both to a sheretz found in an alley and to a woman who found a blood stain on her garment. The sheretz and women make items retroactively Tameh, whether the sheretz or blood stain is moist or has already dried up. The Mishnah records a view that disagrees. Rabbi Shimon says, if the sheretz is dried out, it indeed makes items retroactively Tameh until the time the alley was checked or cleaned. But if the sheretz is moist, it makes items retroactively Tameh only until the time that it could have been dead and still remains moist now, but not before that.